Hello everybody, welcome to Dude with a Fork. My name is Ken. On today's episode of Ken Cooks Stuff, I am making special occasion scalloped potatoes. And scalloped potatoes are something you can get out of a box. Let's face it, you add butter, you add milk, you mix it all together, you throw it in a pan, you throw it in the oven. It comes out 25 minutes later and it's delicious, but you can make them from scratch fairly easily. I like to make them in a way that makes them a bit more work. So I will give you that caveat. There's a bit of work here because I'm going to make a highly flavored bechamel sauce first. It's actually easy. It just takes time. So, but anyway, so this is something I pull out for holidays and that kind of thing. And it's my mom's birthday, and she said, "Hey, I would love it if you made some scalloped potatoes." And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you the ingredients. So let's get started. All right, so to make our bechamel sauce, we're going to need a few things. And bechamel sauce is basically a fancy word for white sauce. So to make a white sauce, you always need a fat. And what I have here is 4 tablespoons of butter. And you want the same quantity of flour as you do butter. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of flour. This is just all-purpose flour. 1/4 cup. 4 tablespoons, those amounts by volume are the same. Then I'm going to need 4 cups of milk, and this is 2% milk. You can use whole milk. You could probably use skim milk. I've never done it, but we're going to have enough fat in this recipe anyway to more than make up for that. So, I've never tried it, but if you want to go for it, go for it. Now, to make it more flavorful, we're going to need some things to I'm going to heat up the milk, and we're going to need some things to flavor that milk as it's heating. So I've got bay leaves. I have 12 here. I'm going to use half of these to make the bechamel. I have a small onion. I'm going to peel it, and I am going to just roughly chop it, and that's going to go in here. I have a handful of peppercorns, and I'm going to give you a link to my website, and it's going to have a printable copy of the recipe. So if you print it out like this, it looks like this with all the ingredients and the instructions. And there's no fluff about like, oh, well, 30 years ago, blah, 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 and all of this. And can you reheat this? And then there's a paragraph about how, yes, you can put this in the microwave. It just gets right to the point. Here, you want scalloped potatoes? Here's a list of ingredients. Here's the steps. Go for it. So don't worry about writing any of this down as you're watching the video. So so I'm going to say like 12 peppercorns or 6 or whatever. Just go for it. And then nutmeg. And I actually have a nutmeg grater. There's a whole nutmeg in here. I don't know if you can see it that well, but when you turn this handle, there's a little blade here that scrapes it, and you get fresh nutmeg that way. And this is just the most amazing stuff. So I'm going to put this, and this, bay leaves, onion, peppercorns, and nutmeg in the milk, heat that up, going to make a roux with the butter and flour, and then make a white sauce by adding flavored milk into that. And it's going to be absolutely delicious. Now, what are we going to put in the potatoes? Let's talk about that. All right, for scalloped potatoes, we obviously need potatoes. These are russet potatoes. I have about 3.5 pounds here. I'm going to peel these. I'm going to slice them not very thin, about 1/4 inch or slightly less than. I have a little mandolin that makes that very easy, and if I remember to show that to you, I will. And technically, that's all you need to make scalloped potatoes. You don't need meat. The recipe I'm going to give you that looks like this calls for about 1/2 pound of ham, and that is just so I can put nutrition facts in there. This is a recipe I typically make after the holidays, so after Christmas, after Easter, when I have leftover ham that might have been in the freezer for a while. It's a great way to turn a side dish into a main dish. This is the Labor Day weekend, and I'm making this for my mom's birthday, and she said, how about bratwurst? So what I have here is a package of 5 bratwurst, and this is about 19 ounces. So what I'm going to do is take them out of the casing and brown this up, and I'm going to put this in the potatoes in place of ham. I'm probably going to use, we'll see how much fat fat renders out of these sausages, but I'm probably going to use some of this fat in place of the butter when I make the bechamel. So what we need to do is head over to the stove and get started on that bechamel. I will see you there. All right, so I'm over at the stove. I have, I think this is a 3-quart saucepan, 2-quart saucepan. It's a 2-quart saucepan because I have 1 quart or 4 cups of milk in here that I'm heating up over medium-high heat. We don't want to boil this milk. We do not want to scald it. We just want to get it warm and keep it warm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my peppercorns and 6 of those bay leaves. If I said 12 before, that's good. If not, I need 12 total for this recipe. And then here's my little tiny onion that I chopped up just coarsely. And I'm just going to put this all in here. And try not to splash too much. Try not to knock things on the floor. Try not to make a mess with this milk, because nothing smells worse than burnt milk other than rotten potatoes. So I have my little nutmeg grinder here. So I'm going to go in and just grind some nutmeg onto the top of that. I'm going for about 1/8 of a tablespoon, maybe. And this is always kind of an eyeballing thing. And I think with nutmeg and bechamel, you're better off going with more rather than less. And that, to me, looks like the right amount. So I'm going to come in here with a spoon. Here's a spoon, and I'm just going to give this a stir. Like I said, I'm going to bring this to, I just want to get this warm, and then I want to keep it warm for about half an hour. The longer you can keep this warm, the better. All we're trying to do is get all of the flavor out of the peppercorns and the bay leaves and the onion and the nutmeg and get it into that milk. And this is kind of why I'm not convinced that skim milk would work, because I don't know that there's enough fat in skim milk to get some of these flavors out of here. Because if you've heard me say it before, you know, a lot of these flavors are oil-based, and if you don't have some kind of fat in here, you're not going to get that flavor out. But I'm going to let this sit here for, I'm not going to let it boil. The minute I start to see a bubble, I'm going to turn the heat way down. And the longer I can leave it here, the better. I am expected to have dinner ready in 3.5 hours. So I can probably leave this on the stove for about an hour. And that's when I'll come back and see you then. Okay, I have here a pot heating up over medium heat. I just washed it out. I don't know if you can tell, but I have really hard water. So there is, it seems like you always end up with lime in these things unless you get in there with some vinegar. So I'm just going to take my sausages. I have taken these out of the skin, and I'm just going to place them in here and wash my hands real quick because, you know, raw pork. Ooh, and there's that sizzle. If you do not have one of these guys, you need to get one of these. And I don't use this often because with ground beef, I find if you break it up as you drop it in the pan, it works. It breaks up fairly well. But for something like sausages, oh my gosh, this is just the greatest thing ever. So I'm going to break these sausages up and brown them off. All right, well, I've browned up the sausage, and as you can look in here and see, there's a bit of fond built up in here, which is nice. I'm going to make my bechamel sauce in this pot, so we're going to use that fond to add even extra flavor to it. There's a little bit of browning on this sausage, so I'm going to drain this. I'm going to figure out how much fat I have in here. I'm estimating it's about a tablespoon, so I'm going to use some of this in place of the butter, which means I probably won't use all 4 tablespoons of the butter. While this was cooking, I also went and peeled all of my potatoes, and I have them sitting in a bowl of water. So my potatoes now look like this. So we're getting pretty close to putting all this together. All I need to do is get this out of here so we can make a bechamel sauce. It's going to be great. See you in a little bit. Okay, so I have my pot here that I cooked the sausage in. Normally I don't have this because I'm not using sausage, but this is kind of a special thing. So I have a little tiny measuring cup that looks like this, and I measured out the fat that was rendered from the sausages, and it was just under 3 tablespoons. So I am going to add that back in there, and then I'm going to add just over a tablespoon, and wash my hands as I go, just over a tablespoon of butter. And I had this just over kind of a medium-low heat. There's no need to get excited about things here. And basically just all I'm going to do is add some flour into this. And here's a 1/4 cup of flour to match our 4 tablespoons of fat. And I'm just going to cook this until all the butter is melted and the flour is cooked. What I've got here is I've got a big old strainer that fits right over this pot. And I have a ladle, and I'm just going to go into my heated milk, which is now full of flavor. And so I'm just going to come in here with a little bit first, and then we're just going to switch up, and probably need to lower that heat just a little bit. We're just going to thicken that up a little bit. Yep. And I'm just going to keep doing this a little bit at a time. Okay, so by the way, our sausage looks like that, and I have gone in and tasted this numerous times, for science, and it's just absolutely amazing. So this looks good. All right, our bechamel is done. The only thing I have to do is drain the potatoes, give them a good rinse, slice them up, and get them in a pan, baking dish. So we will be back with that step. See you in a bit. Alright, so I just wanted to show you my setup for slicing potatoes. This part of my kitchen is really dark. I do apologize. I'm getting some... I've got like one additional light coming from over here. So this is just a basic mandolin setup. My parents gave me this years ago. I just want to show it to you. So you have this bit here, which is the actual cuttings bit. And then you have all of these other bits. So here's a grating bit. And here's a coarser grating bit, and then this is like a waffle cut bit to make waffly things. And then, oops, I'm putting that in crooked. And then this you can flip over. And so I'm going to slice potatoes, but if you wanted to make julienne potatoes, this little bit will julienne them for you. So why is that not going in all the way? So if you do a lot of things with potatoes, something like this really makes it worth it. So I'm just going to wipe the dust off here in case there is dust. I don't know. It's been in the pantry. So it has this thing here, which this clamps. You can see there's an edge here, and it clamps onto this. Pull these guys out, set it down, push those guys in. Potato goes in here. And then you just slide it back. And there are teeth here that you want to try to fit into the edge of your bowl. And then you just go, woo. Up. And I don't normally have these kinds of issues, but I don't normally have a tripod in the way. But if you just don't want to be at this forever with a knife, here you go. Here are the results. So they're all basically the same thickness, about 3/16 of an inch, so a little more than 1/8 of an inch, a little less than 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so there you go. It's not perfect by any means, but it gets the job done. I just slice these potatoes a lot faster than I could with a knife. They're very uniform. So this is it. I mean, and this thing is, you can just throw it in the dishwasher, I do believe. So all that's left to do now is assemble our scalloped potatoes and get them in the oven. Okay, the only thing we have left to do is put our scalloped potatoes together. Now, typically, scalloped potatoes go in a 9 by 13 dish. This is not a 9 by 13 dish. This is a quarter pan? This is a quarter pan restaurant style dish, and I bought this because it's deep. You can see here it's deep. Every time I made scalloped potatoes, I completely would fill up a 9 by 13 pan, and I'm like, I wish they would make a 9 by 13 pan that's a little bit deeper. So I found these actually at Sam's Club, and I'm like, look how deep they are. This would be perfect for scalloped potatoes. Well, as it turns out, nowadays they do make a deeper 9 by 13 pan, but I still like to make my scalloped potatoes in these. So I'm just going to go in with some vegetable spray and hit the bottom and up the sides a little bit. I have my sausage over here. If you can't see it, bechamel is here. And I'm just going to go in and start laying my potatoes down. And you can just toss them in here. That works too. I flip out. I like to shingle these like I'm putting a new roof on the house. So I don't know why. I'm just weird that way. So I'm going to get, oh, there's a bad one. Well, I missed the garbage. So, hey, got it that time. Okay, so sometimes you get that. Those bad spots are usually not that big a deal, but you know, whatever. So I'm gonna put down one layer, and here's what we've got. So found a little bad bit I just broke off of there. I should have looked at these potatoes a little bit more as I was before I brought them over here, but this is September, so it's like this is a very worst time in the world to be buying potatoes because it's the end of the growing season. So all of the potatoes that are in the stores came from last year, so you tend to run into some weird things. So I have probably about 3/4 of these potatoes left, so I'm just going to come in here and just put a sprinkling of this sausage, and it is delicious. Like I said, you know, you always have to try things for science. Oh my gosh, that is so good. So anyway, I'm going to go in here with another layer. My goal is to get basically half of these potatoes in here. And yeah, it's not going to be perfect. That's okay, because it you know what, unless you tell, you know, here's the thing with cooking. If you make a mistake, just don't tell people about it. You just might have invented like the greatest new dish in the world. But unless you just completely burn something or undercook something, it's very possible that a lot of people are just not going to notice. So, you know, so just kind of go with it and see. And then if somebody goes, "Oh, that's intriguing. I like that. What did you do?" And you're like, "Well, it called for a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I accidentally put in an entire cup." And people are like, "Oh, well, that's winner chicken dinner there." So, all right. So I have roughly half of the potatoes in here. So I'm going to go in here with roughly half of this bechamel sauce. Yep. Stay calm, everybody. And this is always a little messy looking. And like I said earlier, if it looks like you don't have enough bechamel sauce to get the whole thing done, when we get to that second layer, we can always go back and add a little bit more milk into that. Okay. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go back in with about 1/3 of this sausage. Oh my gosh. Science demands more testing. Oh, I've never made scalloped potatoes like this. I've usually always used ham. So I cannot wait to try these. All right, so back in with more potatoes. And it's the end of the summer. It's the Labor Day weekend, like I said. And it's actually kind of cool weather out, which is unusual. It's going to get pretty hot over the next week. And this is not like something I normally make in the summer, because you have to heat up the whole oven, which heats up the whole kitchen, which heats up the whole house. And it's just, it just makes the air conditioning run that much more. So it looks like, yeah, I always forget to put potatoes in the corners, but you always end up with little pieces that you can put in there that'll just fit just perfectly. Okay, so I have this many potatoes left. It's always kind of, it's never going to come out perfectly. It's just like making lasagna. You're never going to get perfect layers unless you have stuff left over. So I'm just going to go in with the rest of this sausage, which is delicious. Oh, this is too big. This piece is too big to go in here. So is this. Anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to spread the rest of these potatoes across the top here. Try to fill in any low spots. Pretend it's a golf course, I guess. I don't know. Oh my gosh. That sausage is so amazing. So the upside of this is that it's so good and it makes a lot and you have a lot to feed people. And the downside of it is you have so many dirty dishes when this is done, but that's okay. So I'm going to go and pour the rest of this bechamel over this and see where this gets us. I should have brought a spatula over with me, so I could make sure to just scrape this out clean. I will before I put it in the oven. Rest assured, I just want to make sure everything is covered here. Pretty much. I mean, I've seen people make scalloped potatoes and they don't get everything covered on this top layer. And you know what? Turns out just fine. So, I mean, you can worry about things like that, or you can not worry about things like that. So, in the end, you're giving people food and they're going to love it. So, yeah, that looks good. I'm going to try to scrape out just the last little bit of this. All right, so if you are cooking this in a 9x13 pan, you are going to put a piece of foil over the top of this and spray the bottom of that foil with this so that it doesn't stick to the potatoes, because this is going to be like right up at the top. Because this is not like right up at the top, it's a super deep pan, and can you see how deep that is? I'm just going to put foil over the top. If you're cooking this in a 9x13 pan, you're going to cook this for about an hour at 350. And then you're going to take the foil off. You're going to let this get some brown on the top, and which is going to take about 15-20 minutes. Because this has such high sides, this is actually going to take me closer to like an hour and a half to cook, and then I'm going to have to leave it in for about half an hour afterward to get that brown on it. So, but it is completely and totally worth it. So I'm going to get some foil on this. I'm going to get it in the oven. I'll see you when everything is done. Yeah, this is so good. Oh my gosh, I almost left off the most important part. Remember those? Remember the rest of those bay leaves? Yeah, we're just going to throw those guys on here. So boom, boom, boom. Spread them out a little bit. Make them even. Make them. It doesn't matter if they're pretty because they're going to come off when before we serve this. And then I'm just going to hit it up with some more fresh nutmeg on top. because I am a huge fresh nutmeg fan. If you have nutmeg out of the jar that's already been ground up like 4 years ago in a factory somewhere, I'm going to be like, nope, no thank you. But if you have the fresh ground stuff, it's amazing. So now I'm going to cover this up with foil and put it in the oven. See you in a couple hours. Well, this is what we have. In a glass dish, in a regular metal glass 9x13 dish, this would be done about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. Because it was in this high-sided restaurant-style dish, it took longer than that. The heat has trouble coming over the sides. But this is what we have. So it's nice and crispy brown around the outside. We're gonna get rid of all of these bay leaves because you do not eat bay leaves. So don't even leave bay leaves in a dish. Because somebody's not going to notice, or somebody's not going to know, and they're going to chow down on one of those, and it's not going to be good. So you may have noticed, again, science demands results. So when I baked this for about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes actually, and then I came in and science demanded that I take a sample and taste it. And then I'm like, well, that's really good, so I should get another sample, but I restrained myself. Took the foil off, put it back in the oven for about another 15, 20 minutes. Let it rest. You've got to let this rest. You've just got to, or else it's just going to fall apart when you try to cut it apart. So this has been resting for about 15, 20 minutes. Sides are still hot. And every single time I cut my finger, every time I do anything with potatoes, I end up cutting my finger. So I don't know what's up with that, but I'm gonna get a larger sample on a plate, and we're gonna come back and see what this tastes like. And I guarantee you it's gonna be delicious. So see you in a little bit. Okay, there we are. Look at that. Look at that. This. It's just amazing. It just slides right out of the pan. This is actually the second piece because, this is just like pie. The first piece is going to come out looking terrible. And I'm really bad at taking good thumbnails, so I needed to get a good thumbnail. So I have this fork, again, that I bought at C3PO's garage sale. So we're just going to go, and you can see, though, look at this. Here's this beautiful bechamel, perfectly cooked potatoes, this delicious bratwurst sausage. So we've got that extra sprinkling of nutmeg on the top, a little bit of browning. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is a lot of work to make, and it's a good thing, too, because if not, I would make it all the time, and I would eat it all the time, and that would probably not be good. It's not good to just eat the same thing all the time, but let's get in there with that taste. Wow. That is, oh my gosh. That is so good. It's these potatoes are just perfectly done. The sausage is so good in it. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Oh. Now my mom called me. Like I said, it's her birthday today. And I said, well, I'll make whatever you want for dinner. And oh, well, here we go. And she's not feeling well, and she said, hey, can we postpone until tomorrow? Which works out because it's a holiday weekend anyway. And that's good because that's perfectly okay. It's not good that she's not feeling well, but it's perfectly okay because this is the kind of dish that tastes even better the next day. You let this thing sit in the fridge overnight. 3.4 times. That is, if you make this and leave this in the fridge overnight, 3.4 times is the average number of times you will come in to taste this in the middle of the night because it is so good. And this definitely will be even better the next day. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, why don't I make this more often? Because it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. But sometimes it's a good thing to make something that oh, I need to quit putting this in my mouth. It is so doggone tasty. Oh my gosh, look at that. It didn't seem like a lot of sausage to me either, but there's sausage in every single bite. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Make this, please. You will. If you love potatoes, like I love potatoes, and if you love sausage, like I said, normally I don't make this with sausage. Normally I use like holiday ham. You can leave the ham out. You can leave all sorts of all the meat out, and it's still perfectly good. But wow. This is really good with this bratwurst, so thank you so much for watching. Let's just stop the camera because I need to finish eating this. Thanks. And that's it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Gosh, I hope you try this. Like I said, if you go to my website, I put a link down in the show notes below. It gets you right to the recipe, so you don't need to scribble down ingredients as you go. It's printable, so you can just set it to your printer and be done with it. I don't spend a lot of time talking about ridiculous stuff like, can you serve this the next day? Because obviously anything can be served the next day. This actually gets better the next day. And I don't spend, 8 paragraphs talking about the origins of potatoes. So anyway, just go to my website if you want to make this. Please do so. Just keep in mind the recipe on the website uses ham instead of the sausage, but you can leave any sort of meat product out. So thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like this content, feel free to subscribe. It's completely free. You click the bell icon. You get notifications when new videos go up. I have a mailing list. Get on my website, and you can sign up for my mailing list. I don't really spam at all. It's just like once a month, once every couple of weeks. I just talk about things that I'm looking at food-wise. But yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, eat great food, and power to the proletariat. We will see you next time.